Welcome to another episode of the All Pop No Culture podcast. I'm your host this week, Kevin, and I'm alone this week again. Happy birthday to me. Nobody showed up for my birthday party. I didn't cry. I blew out my candles and I'll eat my cake all by myself, watching TV like a grown-up does. This week I just kind of go through a bunch of new stuff that's been out. I cover the Golden Globes, go over a video game called the Callisto Protocol, talk The Recruit on Netflix, and then talk about Hacks and the Flight Attendant from HBO, and then finish off with some things to watch in the next couple of weeks and months. So hope you enjoy the episode. Again, be kind, be patient. I'm all alone here again. It's my birthday, so if you want to leave a comment or get a friend to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it and make me feel super pretty on my birthday when nobody showed up. But not that I'm crying about it. But anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, set up notifications, tell your friends about the show, and enjoy the episode. So, as you can see, I'm alone tonight. Everybody kind of bailed at the last minute, or I asked everybody who's coming. Andrew said he hasn't watched much. He's kind of tired. Pete was somewhere and didn't bring his stuff. I think he was traveling this week, to be fair. And Andy's not around. So it's only the second week of the year, and I didn't want to get off to a bad start. So decided to do another solo episode just for the sake of doing it. I can't promise that it'll be long. I can't promise that it'll be good. It sounds like you're sleeping with Pete. But I can only promise that I'll try and throw out some content. So just to jump right into it, just things that I have watched this week, starting with new stuff, I guess. I watched The Recruit on Netflix. And I say new, it's a couple of weeks old at this point, but The Recruit is a show starring Noah Centineo, who was the Atom Smasher on Black Adam. The next kind of major actress is Laura Haddock. I'm not too familiar with her. She has a very Angelina Jolie vibe to her. And the rest of the cast is a bunch of smaller time players. Colton Dunn is in it. I like him a lot. He was in Superstore. This kid in this show, Noah Centineo, his character's name is Owen Hendricks. He's a recruit for the CIA. It's his first week on the job, basically. And rather than being your typical CIA operative, he's a lawyer. And his first day on the job, the rest of his department's kind of punking him, and they give him this stack of what they call them, gray cases, I think is what they call them, or gray mail, I think is what they say. And what it is, it's people that have sent mail threatening the CIA to disclose information, and most of them are fake, but it's his job in this first week to go through them and find things that are actual threats. And he finds this one from this girl, Max Malazzi, who's played by Laura Haddock. She's threatening to reveal a bunch of secrets, and he determines that by reading her letter that she's authentic. And so he goes and meets her in prison and starts talking to her, and the whole show kind of blossoms out from there. It's a pretty entertaining show. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a great show. It is very much along the lines of I think it's by the creators of The Rookie on ABC, and it definitely has a not quite a network TV feel, but it's not as heavy duty as some of the darker shows that Netflix has. So don't go in expecting an Emmy winner here, but if you like a little suspense, a little entertainment, I would say give it a shot. Like I said, it's good, not great. He's much more charismatic in this. I think I kind of get from him in this what I think some people are getting from him in Black Adam, which is that he's got some charm, and man, this kid just slays the ladies in this one, man. He just at every turn, he's bagging girls left and right. I don't think he's particularly great looking. He's a handsome kid, but he uh he gets a lot of play in this one. It makes me laugh quite a bit every single time. It's like somebody's throwing themselves at him. The one that really made me laugh, and we talked about it in our thread, but one of the other main girls that kind of he's in love with historically, and they broke up and she's around and they're roommates now, which makes things awkward, right? But the actress's name is Fievel Stewart. I know she's been in some other stuff, but I can't get over naming your kid Fievel, except for that I think her brother's name is Boo Boo, and I feel like that's child abuse. I don't know for sure, but it doesn't sound. It's just not nice as parents. But yeah, the Recruit on Netflix, definitely. It's only 8 episodes, so if you've got a couple of days to throw away on streaming something, you're looking for something entertaining, not mind blowing. It's good. It's good. It's a little predictable in parts, but it's not going to infuriate you to watch. So I would say to give it a shot. All right, so next up on new stuff, let's see. This week, it's not as big as some of their stuff, but the new trailer for Ant-Man 2 Ant-Man 3, Quantumania dropped. It looks like an absolute CGI visual extravaganza. Not in a bad way. It looks beautiful. I personally have concerns that maybe they're leaning a little too heavy into it. I hope that it works out in that regard, but it looks like it's going to be intense. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. We get reveals of Kang the Conqueror, who we saw at the end of Loki, season 1. It looks like most of the major players are back. Scott Lang's daughter is going to be in it, but we also get MODOK, who is played by the guy that played Yellow Jacket in the first Ant-Man movie. And so it looks like a wild ride. I mean, I would definitely say check out the trailer if you haven't. I feel like if you're a Marvel fan, you probably already have. But I mean, it looks good. It looks good. Kang looks like he's going to be great. I've read a lot of reviews that say he is like this big time offset of Scott Lang's comedy. So you've got Scott Lang's comedy versus his strong and not quite evil nature, as not what I've read, but that he just has a real presence to him, and he's not the happiest dude. Seems like he's been trapped in the quantum realm for a while and wants out. And it seems like from the trailer that he's using Scott's daughter as leverage to get him back into the land of not the land of the living, but into our world. Yeah, he's not the best guy. We know that because he's a Marvel villain. But I'm hoping that we see some of the development similar to what we've seen with Black Panther villains, where hopefully you get some reasoning behind his bad boyness, because I think that really makes the characters work better. I think if you've seen the Black Panther films, the villains in those are so deep and so well written that they're almost heroes of the story. You look at Killmonger and the reasons that he did the things he did, you can relate to them. They're relatable. And so, that made him a good villain. Namor was a great villain. I mean, he wasn't really a bad guy. He was just protecting his people, protecting his world, and now he's ready to kind of be a badass. So he's a good like anti-hero kind of thing for that story. So Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man 3 Quantumania is out. It's February 17th. So we're just over a month away. And so check out the trailer if you haven't. Get ready for the movie. I think it's going to be awesome. It's supposed to be a little over 2 hours, and looks like it's just got a ton of content to it. So check it out. So the other thing that happened this week that was kind of a big deal, if you care about such things, is the Golden Globes. I'll go through it real quick. There wasn't a ton of controversy this year, although there were some great moments. If you haven't watched it, I recommend checking out Jennifer Coolidge's speech. Um, she was fantastic, very, very heartfelt. Just what an impressive woman to go through Hollywood as kind of an underdog. She's not your I think she compared herself to in an interview to like a Jennifer Aniston. She's not like she's not thin and small and petite and what is considered traditionally beautiful. Although that was kind of her gig in American Pie, right? She was Stifler's mom, and she was like the super MILF, right? Like everybody wanted Stifler's mom, but point being, like she's kind of fought for the things that she's had in Hollywood and done a really good job of it. And her speech is really heartfelt and goes out to the creator of White Lotus. And it's just a really fun watch. And then another great speech was Michelle Yeoh's. She was pretty funny. I think they tried to play her off, and she said, I think she literally said, "I can beat you up, so just wait." But yeah, so the awards themselves. Now, the best motion picture is The Fabelmans, and I've seen the trailer for this, and I know that it was very pretty, but I didn't understand what it was, and watching the trailer, um, I didn't feel like I got enough of the plot to be super interested in it. But now that it's won Best Motion Picture and it's been talked about a little more, it's the story of a young boy growing up and falling in love with film, and it reflects Spielberg's childhood. Um, that beat out the new Avatar, it beat out Elvis, it beat out Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. And to be fair, I don't think any of those stand a chance against a Steven Spielberg film. When Steven Spielberg makes something with heart, he's gonna be tough to beat. That's kind of his jam. The best musical or comedy was The Banshees of Inisherin. I believe that's Apple TV or HBO, one of the two. And again, I don't really see anything that I think would have been a contender. Maybe Everything Everywhere All at Once. Probably could have been up there. I know that one is absolutely fantastic. But yeah. Best television drama, House of the Dragon. This one I disagree with. I liked House of the Dragon and I enjoyed it a lot. But Severance was in there, and I really think that should have won. I can't speak to Better Call Saul, because I'm a slacker and still haven't watched it. But I feel like from everything I've heard and from everyone I know, that was a better show. House of the Dragon was good, but it was long, it was slow. The time jumps bothered me a little bit, so I wasn't sure about that. Best television series for musical or comedy was Abbott Elementary. This one I'm pretty well behind, although Hacks is on the list, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Was fantastic, and Wednesday was great also. But I think I've only watched a little bit of Abbott Elementary, but it definitely, kind of like The Fabelmans, has a lot of heart to it, and that makes it something that's very difficult to beat. Best animated feature was Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Again, this is one where I don't see anything that I heard about that really had a real shot at this. One interesting thing that Guillermo del Toro said in an interview recently is that he really thinks of animation as a genre, not as animation for children. Like he said, animation, just because something is animated doesn't mean it's for kids. So you should be able to do that and make the films that you want to make, and not be burdened by making them directly for kids. Motion picture non-English language, I definitely haven't seen any of these, but the Argentina 1985. Best limited series was White Lotus. And season 2 of this, man, I really loved it. We talked about it a little bit last week. And I think it's pretty fantastic. I don't know, I started Blackbird, that was good. I started Monster, that was good. The Jeffrey Dahmer story, those are both really good. but White Lotus is, again, it's special. There's something in there that just makes that one good. Um, Best actor in a drama was Kevin Costner for Yellowstone. Again, like I absolutely love Kevin Costner in this. Like I cannot take anything away from him. Um, but Bob Odenkirk on Better Call Saul for the final season maybe should have had a shot at it. I love Adam Scott in Severance. I don't know that he's better just as a single character than Kevin Costner in Yellowstone or Bob Odenkirk in Better Call Saul. But um, performance by an actress in a drama was Zendaya. Who's going to beat her? Like she's just crushing right now, especially for that show. Um, I mean, Emma Darcy was up for House of the Dragon. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't want to see anybody that compares. Um, Best actor in a limited series, Evan Peters won for Dahmer. I know that was a little controversial. I don't really see anybody that, from what I've seen, kind of stands up to that. He was pretty intense in that and played the character really well. The controversy is, does if you make a film like this and you're giving awards to the guy playing Jeffrey Dahmer, um, are you justifying what he did, or giving celebrity to what he did? Which is a fair question. I don't know that's right or wrong. But they did do it, and he did a fantastic job. So let's see, best performance by an actress. Amanda Seyfried won for The Dropout. I didn't watch it. To be fair, the only other person that I really heard great things about in this category was Julia Garner in Inventing Anna, which I haven't seen. But I think Pete talked about it last week and he enjoyed it a lot. Best director for a motion picture, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. I mean, go ahead, try and beat Spielberg. Again, guy's unreal. I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, this was a tight category, I think, though. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once probably could have won. From what I've heard, Baz Luhrmann could have won for Elvis. But again, when you're up against Spielberg, what are you going to do? Best screenplay, which I should go read, is The Banshees of Inisherin. I really need to watch this one. It looks really good. Cate Blanchett won for Tar for Best Actress in a Drama. Again, this is a funky category. I'd be curious. I wish Andrew was on so I could ask him if he thought Viola Davis in The Woman King maybe could have taken this category. I think he had great things to say about her. In that, I still haven't seen that, but I can imagine that she was competition for it. She's so fantastic. In what ends up being kind of a tragic win, Austin Butler won for Elvis. And that day, Lisa Marie Presley was there and pumped him up, and she passed away like the next day, which is just wild. I know there's a little controversy about Brendan Fraser not winning for The Whale, but everything I'm hearing about Austin Butler is the work that he did was pretty damn impressive. He kind of lived and breathed Elvis for the time, the whole run of the show, or the filming. So, you do the best job, you deserve the award for the best performance. So, I got to check that out and see how good he was. Michelle Yeoh won for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and again, it is this category is interesting. Like Anya Taylor-Joy is in there for The Menu, and while I liked her, it was not a powerful character. And I think what Michelle Yeoh did in Everything Everywhere All at Once was pretty incredible, and definitely worth watching. If you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, definitely see it. Absolutely fantastic. Colin Farrell wins for actor in a motion picture, musical or comedy. It's weird that, and I didn't notice this in the Best Actress category, but The Menu is listed in a musical or comedy, and I maybe it's a dark comedy, but I really wouldn't qualify it as a comedy. So that's an interesting an interesting person to put in that category. But Colin Farrell won for Banshees of Inisherin, and I think he seems like the hands down winner. Looking at this, Daniel Craig was great in Glass Onion, but he was a little quirky. I haven't seen White Noise, the Adam Driver, but I seem to remember that the trailer looked pretty interesting, so I might have to check that out too. Quinta Brunson won for Abbott Elementary in a comedy, and that doesn't really surprise me, although Gene Smart could have taken a run at that from Hacks, or Kaylee Cuoco was in there for The Flight Attendant, which I'll probably talk about in a little bit too. She's actually really good on that show. She very frenetic, very scattered, almost kind of plays a few different characters. And her work's really good. It's better than it was on, Big Bang or something like that. But I think, again, the same argument I made a couple times. Quinta Brunson just has kind of the heart with Abbott Elementary that some of the other performances probably don't have. Jeremy Allen White won for The Bear, which is pretty awesome. I think I haven't watched this yet, but I feel like he's come a long way from Shameless, and this show looks pretty damn great, and I keep forgetting to watch it. So hopefully the next week or two, I'll watch it. Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture, Angela Bassett won for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and I don't disagree. I thought she was amazing in this. I think Jamie Lee Curtis being up against her could have taken a run at it. She was a pretty interesting character, but I think what Angela Bassett did was, she was, again, she was like kind of the heart of the film between her and Shuri, whose name is escaping me at the moment and shouldn't be, but it is. Like, there was a whole lot of emotion there, and they did a really good job portraying it. And I think in her acceptance speech, of course, she talked about Chadwick Boseman, who I think the story goes back to her his college days, and she had something to do with his college education. I can't remember what it was, but she really kind of started his career. So for them to work together, in the last couple of movies, obviously was very close to her heart. Let's see, best performance by an actor in a supporting role. Kei Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm sure I butchered his name, so I definitely apologize. But he was fantastic. He's really cool too. His speech was actually really heartfelt. I forgot about his, where, he thanks Steven Spielberg for all those years ago giving him a shot in Indiana Jones, and then getting the shot in the Goonies. And his career kind of disappeared for a while, and now there's rumors that they might want him in a Marvel film, and his career's kind of ratcheting back up. And I'm really happy for the guy. I think he seems like a really sweet guy. Obviously knows where he came from. Kind of never gave up on acting. So it's great to see him, making a name for himself out there. I think he's great. Best performance by an actress in a supporting role, Jennifer Coolidge for The White Lotus. Again, she is just a ball of chaos. If you haven't seen White Lotus, she's a mess, and she's in the best possible way. Like, she's great. I don't know. I loved Aubrey Plaza in The White Lotus, but I don't think she could beat Jennifer Coolidge as far as this goes. Best actor in a series, Paul Walter Hauser for Blackbird. I started watching that and fell off, but the acting was really good in it, so I need to go back and watch that one. I enjoyed that one. That was Taron Egerton he's trying to get out of prison because he's shady, and he deserved to be in prison, but he got out by I think the story is that he's going to go share a cell with a serial killer and try and kind of coax information out of him while he's in there. And so that's was a pretty intense show, even in the first episode, where you were just barely getting started. So I need to go back and watch that. F. Murray Abraham for White Lotus was up in that category. He was pretty good. And definitely has his moments in that too. So I can see where he could have taken a run at that too, but yeah, that one's a good one. Um, Performance bad actress in a comedy, Julia again. Oh, this says musical comedy or drama series, which is um, a weird category. It's basically everything in a series. Um, and Julia Garner won for Ozark. Hannah Einbender for Hacks is in there. There's a couple for Abbott Elementary. This actually looks like on paper a pretty solid category. Like this is probably for the voters a bit of a brawl, but I know everybody loved Julia Garner. She's like the one constant that everybody loved in Ozark. So her winning is actually not necessarily shocking, but it's a good category for sure. Best performance by an actor in a supporting role in a musical comedy or drama series, again, which is like an everything series. Tyler James Williams for Abbott Elementary. I think I saw that this is his first win at an award show, and I've only seen the first episode or the first couple of episodes of this, and I liked him a lot. So I think he probably deserved it. He's again show with a lot of heart kind of takes this. I do think John Turturro and Severance, again, not having watched all of Abbott Elementary and not being able to make a fair comparison, probably should have done pretty well in this category too. His character in that show is absolutely fantastic. Best original score was for Babylon. Um, I don't know much about these. I know that Babylon was very pretty. I haven't read very many great reviews of Babylon. It seemed like it struggled a little bit, but without watching all of these, I can't really speak to the score. Although The Fablemans was scored by John Williams, so you have to imagine he got a couple of votes in that category. John Williams is awesome. Best original song for a motion picture. What a weird win for the show RRR, which is I think it was Indian, and it's an action flick from India, and I've heard just absolutely amazing things about it, and like the whole go watch it. So it's on my list. I haven't got to it yet, but it's definitely on my list of things to watch. And the last two things from the Golden Globes, as I slow my ramble here. I didn't see either of these speeches, but Ryan Murphy won the Carol Burnett Award, and Eddie Murphy won the Cecil B. DeMille Award. And it's interesting that I haven't seen much from Eddie Murphy in a while, so maybe that just means that's why it's time for him to win an award. I don't know, but his body of work is incredible. He's done a lot of good stuff over a lot of years, so I can't fault giving him an award necessarily. So that was the Golden Globes. That was a lot longer than I expected it to be, but I think for the most part, it feels like most of these they got right. My big argument would have been for Severance winning Best Drama, but to each their own. And I'm not a voter, obviously, so it is what it is. The last of the new things that I've been involved with, and I'm going to tangent away from what we usually do on the show and talk video games for just a little bit. And I've been playing the Callisto Protocol. Now, the main character in this is played by Josh Duhamel, which you can't tell from this image at all, but it looks just like him. Obviously, they do motion capture and face capture and all that stuff. So it's definitely Josh Duhamel. You play it sounds like him. As the game goes on, you partner up with Karen Fukuhara from The Boys, who I absolutely adore. I think she's fantastic. She is definitely an anti-hero in this one. And so she's, I haven't got far enough into the game to spoil it and tell you how their relationship goes, but they're definitely at odds. If you followed Smallville back in the day, or the Sam Witwer is in this, and he has become kind of a prolific voice actor. He does a lot of stuff. I never really thought he was a particularly great actor on film, but he's done a lot of good voice acting work, particularly in the Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. He did those games and did a pretty awesome job in those. He was in Days Gone, where he's the main character. Many moons ago, I talked about that game on this show, and my problem with him in that is that it just felt like bad directing. Like, because I know that he's actually a pretty decent actor, and it didn't play very well for whatever reason. But he's pretty solid. And then, of course, in the Star Wars pantheon, besides The Force Unleashed, he's been Darth Maul, or the voice of Darth Maul, in everything outside of the original film that Darth Maul was in. So um, he's a solid actor also. But let me get off of Sam Witwer's junk and talk about the Callisto Protocol. So this is made by the creators of Dead Space, which was my favorite horror survival game of all time. I think arguably The Last of Us could be considered a horror game, but I think it's a little more than that. But anyways, Dead Space, and if I when I describe the Callisto Protocol, and if it sounds exactly the same, I apologize, because I didn't make either of these games. But Dead Space, you're on a mining ship, and you discover, or you're in a salvage ship, and you discover an abandoned mining ship, and the story is that something terrible happened there, and as you're going through the ship, you discover that something is turning the people on the ship into monsters, and you've got to figure out why. And the story is absolutely fantastic. It spawned 3 games. The third game maybe wasn't as good. The second game, none of them are as good as the first game. The second game's pretty good. Third one kind of fell off a little bit. There was an anime or two. There was a couple of books, and I loved that universe, and I got really into it. And I read the books, and it was brilliant. And there was so much in that world and in that story that made it so good. And getting to the Callisto Protocol, you were a salvage guy, and your ship crashes on Callisto, one of the moons of Jupiter. And for whatever reason, they don't like that you crash there, and you end up in Black Iron Prison, rather than on a mining ship. But as soon as you wake up in the prison, everything's gone to shit, and dead bodies are turning into monsters. I mean, it's from the creators of Dead Space, and it's like they got bored and were like, "Can we do this again?" And the answer kind of is no. It takes advantage of modern video game engines and looks really. The animation is great. The motion capture is great. Visually, like everything is ratcheted up to 10. But where Dead Space was suspense and storytelling, and it was super deep, this game really relies heavily on just being gory, and monsters coming at you, and splattering everywhere when you kill them. And it just it's like it's gore for the sake of gore, rather than being a well thought out story. And so far, I'm probably about halfway through it, so I can't spoil anything, but I feel like there's a heart, just like I was talking about with some of the awards, but there's a heart missing from this, or just some creativity missing from this. And maybe part of it's because it's so similar to Dead Space that it's an unfair comparison. But it's not as good. is what it comes down to. I think the studio that produced it intended to sell 5 million copies, and so far they've only sold 2 million, and it doesn't look like they're going to come anywhere near the 5 million that they wanted to sell. Part of that, or a significant part of that, I think, is that when it released, it got a lot of really rough reviews, kind of like what I'm saying. And it didn't review very well. Like I said, it looks great, the acting's good, but like the point of what's happening isn't there. Like in Dead Space, you started to get it real quick, and the characters besides the main character were a little more interesting, and they gave you a little more backstory, and this is kind of lacking that. I'm hoping that it finishes strong, but I think if they don't hit the mark for sales goals that they had, this probably won't get a sequel, which is a bummer, because like I said, they put the work in. It's a very pretty game, but it's lacking. I am far more interested in now, even than I was, in the Dead Space remake that releases at the end of this month. I think it's January 27th of this year. That looks fantastic, and I know like it sucks because I already know the story, and I'm playing Callisto Protocol, which kind of ripped off the story, but that game is just absolutely awesome. If you play video games and you like the horror genre, then Dead Space is a game that you absolutely have to play. It's just good. It's creepy. It gets into you a lot more, and the story and the reasoning behind it, at least so far, is much better than what's happening in the Callisto Protocol. Like the reasoning for everything is just there, and you feel it, and you know, you want to survive, and all that. So yeah, that's what I got for Callisto Protocol. I don't know if I necessarily recommend playing it. I would rather tell somebody to wait, especially at this point, wait 2 weeks and get the Dead Space remake and play that, because that is awesome. So that's what I've got for new stuff. This last week, I really hunkered down and watched some stuff. So I watched Hacks. I just finished the first season of Hacks today. I could see why Jean Smart has won the awards that she's won for the show. She's brilliant in it. I think the whole cast as a whole is really great. Hannah Einbinder, who I'm not familiar with outside of the show. You know, I feel like her character maybe could be played by just about anybody, but she does the quirky, a mess kind of character really well. And she's cool. So I mean, yes, somebody else could have done it, but she's doing a great job doing it. But the draw for the show is definitely Jean Smart. Like, she's absolutely fantastic. A lot of the side characters in this are really great. I love this guy. I'm not familiar with him, but Carl Clemens Hopkins that plays Marcus. He's like Deborah Vance, Jean Smart's assistant. And man, he is a grumpy son of a bitch, but he's so good. Because he loves her. He cares about her, and he's trying to make her career. And then some of the other like comedy relief, because even though it's a comedy, and Jean Smart's character is a comedian, and that's kind of what it's all about. She brings a lot of intelligent drama to this show, and so does Hannah Einbinder. Like their relationship is as dramatic as it is funny, and Carl Clemens Hopkins, while the humor he brings is very dry, he's also a source of drama. So the characters that come in that are fun are hilarious. Paul W. Downs plays Jimmy, who's the agent for both Deborah Vance and Ava, which is Jean Smart and Hannah Einbinder, and he brings them together. And it's not a friendly coming together, and so he does some great work there. But he's hilarious. His assistant Kayla is fucking hilarious, especially in the season finale of season 1. I was dying. I was laughing so hard at everything she did in that episode. She's hilarious. Christopher McDonald, best known in my world for playing Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, isn't it? And he plays a casino. I don't know if he's the owner of the casino or just the CEO of the casino or what. But former love interest of Deborah Vance and the guy that's ultimately firing her from her residence. So, but he's really great. Like he definitely doesn't bring a whole lot of humor to it. Like he is definitely a dramatic character. Another character that's hilarious and fun is Poppy Lou, who plays Kiki, the blackjack dealer that comes to Deborah Vance's house to have her play poker. She's adorable. And then Caitlin Olsen plays Deborah Vance's daughter. Name is DJ for Deborah Jr., which is hilarious. And she's really good in it too. Like she brings a little bit of drama, but she's really funny. If you ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you know what you're getting there. But man, it's a really good show. So the premise of the show, now that I've rambled on about the cast, the premise of the show is that Deborah Vance has been in a residence in Las Vegas forever, kind of just doing the same shtick over and over and over again, and making a lot of money doing it. And she's super rich. And Ava has been fired from her last writing job because she sent out an insensitive tweet at the wrong time that blew up, and she's kind of become toxic in the comedy writing world right now. And so nobody wants to work with her. So she gets pulled into her agent Jimmy is working really hard to find her a job. So he pushes her and Deborah Vance together to have her write. And so the first 2/3 of the season are just how hard they butt heads and how they really don't want to work together. They don't really like each other too much. But as a show like this would go, and you expect it to go, they learn to get along. They learn to love each other, and they're just great. It's a lot of fun. Their relationship, the way that it builds and the way that it comes together, is fantastic. You have a lot of drama. Maybe it's just because it also revolves around comedy, but the way that it balances comedy and drama reminds me a lot of The Marvelous Miss Maisel. But it's really fun to see her convince this comedian that's been doing the same shtick for decades, basically, when she's going to do her last show at I think it's called the Palmetto is the casino she's at. She convinces her to do, rather than just her jokes, kind of become a storytelling comedian, somebody like Mike Birbiglia or something like that, and sit down and tell the stories of her life and the things that made her become a comedian, and obviously do them in a comedic way, because she's still trying to be a comedian, but to do something different, and to see them kind of battle and become reliant on each other is really great. But before I move on, I'll say it one more time. Just Jean Smart, especially in this, is awesome. Like she's so good. This is on HBO, and I definitely would recommend checking it out. The only other thing that I've watched this week that was new to me, and it took me a long time to get to it for some reason, and I'm not quite done with it, but I've been watching The Flight Attendant season 2 on HBO also. And I think I talked about it when I was talking about the Golden Globes, but Kaylee Cuoco she's doing good work in this. Again, I don't know if she's a best actress, but she's come a long way. The show is, again, it's frenetic. If you've watched the first season, it's definitely weird and different. Seeing her, kind of go into her own mind and have conversations with herself and all that is a weird, it's a weird shtick for the show to have, but it works. And I think if you like the first season, I do, kind of like White Lotus for me. I think this season is better. She's definitely struggling. She's battling with the same demons that she had before. The show starts off. The difference here is that in season 2, she's actually been recruited by the CIA to do some work, which in its own way is a silly premise, right? Like you can't take this show particularly seriously. it's fun, and a lot of the same cast carries over. You've got obviously Kaylee Cuoco, you've got Josiah Mamet, whose name I'm probably butchered, but she's hilarious in both seasons. Um, Rosie Perez is in here, and she's a lot of fun. But just the idea behind the whole thing, she's somehow gets herself wrapped up into something she shouldn't be wrapped up in, because she's not super I don't want to say super intelligent, because she is intelligent, but she's not super organized. She's in the first season especially, she's drinking the whole time. In season two, um, she's a recovering alcoholic and struggling with that, and that actually, for me, brings a lot of depth to her character that's super interesting. And so to watch her battle with this stuff and try and find her way through and all that is a lot of fun, and the mystery that's unraveling in the second season is pretty wild. Again, you kind of have to suspend disbelief, like this stuff would never happen to anybody. um it's just always ridiculous, but it's fun. It's a fun kind of ridiculous, and I've enjoyed it a lot, so I'm really looking forward to finishing out the season probably in the next couple of days. But if you haven't, I would say definitely go watch the first season, and then take in the second season. I think the second season is better, feels better than the first season. But the first season was pretty solid. And so that's about all I've got. The only other things coming up, I just started today. Actually, I started because it just dropped today. Is season 2 of Hunters on Amazon Prime. If you haven't heard of this or haven't seen it, you should definitely go watch it. It's fucking good. So you've got Al Pacino, Logan Lerman, Lena Olin, Jerrica Hinton, Carol Kane, Josh Radnor, Saul Rubinek, and others. But it's really good. So the premise is, I'm just going to read you the IMDb premise so I don't fuck it up. But in 1977 in New York, a troubled young Jewish man bent on revenge is taken in by a secret group of Nazi hunters fighting a clandestine war against the cabal of high-ranking Nazi officials in hiding who worked to create the Fourth Reich. And while that is a kind of a frenetic explanation, that's really what it is. Like, this kid falls in with Al Pacino, who ever since World War II has been hunting Nazis. And so, like, these very, very ordinary seeming people are out to, stop Nazis from doing Nazi things. And it's just a damn good show. The writing's great. It's exciting. Like, there's some mystery involved. The characters are all interesting. You've got kind of a badass nun. You've got Al Pacino, who's this older businessman. Logan Lerman is your kind of young, innocent kid trying to figure out his way through the world. It's not as crazy as The Flight Attendant, but in the same way, it is unbelievable in its own way. Like, these things couldn't really happen. But it's good. It's really good. So I would definitely recommend going to watch Hunters on Amazon Prime. I think both seasons are out now. I think this season is intended to be the final season. So if you start watching it now, you'll watch the whole thing and get the story from beginning to end. But it's really solid. Very crazy. Not particularly believable, but fun. And Al Pacino is Al Pacino. He's awesome in it. So definitely go check it out. And then what I've seen too, there's coming in March, I think. The trailer is out now for Yellow Jackets season 2. I talked about Yellow Jackets many episodes ago. That is on Showtime, I believe, and is a great suspense show about a group of soccer players. A soccer team crashes in the mountains, not to the point of like the Donner Party style story, but they crash the mountains. But what you find out later is that there's two timelines in Yellow Jackets, and one of them is like our present timeline where everybody survived, or most of them survived and came back, and then you have the past timeline, which is them crashed in the woods. And so it's kind of the story of how they survived, and it's a little crazy, like the things that they had to do to survive, and the way the first season ends definitely leaves a question of like, is this a supernatural thing? Is it a psychotic thing? Like the crazy shit that happened, the whys of it. But I really liked it. So if you go, if you want to wait till March, you can watch, both seasons kind of back to back, but the first season is really good. So I'm definitely excited for the second season of that. Tomorrow, which is actually today, which is my birthday, which is so almost perfect. The Last of Us finally drops the HBO series, and it just, everything I see, the reviews keep getting better and better. So I'm not going to beat it to death. I've talked about it enough. We'll talk about it next week when there's an actual episode to talk about. But I can't recommend it enough, having not seen a single minute of it. I know it's coming. So that is where I'm at. I have no idea what I've talked about. Again, I hope I've given you something. That the Golden Globes talk was quite a bit, so I apologize if that droned on. But I appreciate you being here this week. I just didn't want to give you guys a week without an episode to start the year. So thank you for watching. Thank you for downloading if you're listening to the audio. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And we will see you next week.